Memphis is the home of the blues, rock and roll, and Earl Farrell.
From the Collierville Square to the mighty Mississippi, the Earl Farrell for Memphis show is all about good things that happen across the Bluff City and the people who make Memphis cool.
The Earl Farrell for Memphis show is made possible by our title sponsor, Southern Security Federal Credit Union, and by Kathy Thurman Edwards, State Farm Insurance.
Plus, Diane Kimbrough, Lady Dive, your insurance PI. Also by Dive Shop and Dive Ventures nationwide. Jim Karras Chevrolet with George Gully. Napa Cafe Memphis and Glenda Hastings. Phoenix Unequaled Home Entertainment. For Memphis Magazine. The Live at the Garden Concert Series. And the Orpheum Theater Group Memphis. Thank you to all the sponsors for making this possible.
And now, coming to you from Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King, inside the world-famous Peabody Hotel, with the heart of a cowboy and Memphis in his soul. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Earl Farrell.
And thank you very much, and welcome in on this summer afternoon in Memphis, Tennessee, live at Lansky's Brothers, Clothier to the King. We're traveling today on the show. We're going to go to Connecticut. My good friend Jim Elliott, who is a Tesla expert, a Tesla investor, and a Tesla owner. Good afternoon, Jim.
Hey, Earl. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I love your screened-in porch and that outside view of your yard.
Got my cat out
and
here with me?
You got your cat? What's your cat's name?
Lola Bell.
Lola Bell. I like it.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to have you on, we've been tracking you ever since you bought your Tesla a couple of months ago. And I'd gone out trying to interview people about Teslas and do they like them, or they what they're cracked up to be, or what they say they are. I couldn't get anybody. I went to those charging stations, one over on Ridgeway by the Amerigo's restaurant, and nobody would talk to me. I'd knock on their window and say, "Can you talk to me?" And they'd point to their ear like they're talking on their phone, or they would say, just shake their head no. And I couldn't figure out why it was, and I still don't know why they wouldn't talk to me. So that's why I was so glad when you started looking into buying a Tesla. And we'd talked many times about your investing in Tesla and the stock and it going up and down, and Elon Musk opening his plant here in Memphis and how all that has evolved. So when you bought the Tesla, I said, this is going to be great because you were a photographer and worked with me for many years. So this was, you were already in love with the car anyway. So this was just a simple way of saying, okay, I'm going to get one and see if it really is what they say it is. And I remember.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. So you finally said, I got one, I'm going to buy it. So tell us about that experience.
Well, they redid the Model Y, which is the number one selling car in the world. It's their SUV. And I thought, okay, I want that because, I'm like everybody else. I want an SUV. So the back opens up. So I started to buy one from Tesla, and I had a bad experience where I got a bad person on the phone who was trying to get me to commit to buying this car, and they had their information screwed up, and we almost ended up getting in a fight, and I ended up not getting the car. And so it was going to be a remaindered car anyway, and I got to tell you, I never liked that flat front that they used to put on the Model Y and the Model 3, that little flat front that, instead of a radiator.
Which is sort of like the truck.
Yeah, I like the truck. A lot of people can't stand it. So anyway, when they took that out, they first took it out on the Model 3, and that's a sedan. And I didn't really want one, but I found one at a really great price here in Connecticut at a used car dealer, and I went down, and it wasn't the right color. I wanted a bright red one, and it just wasn't red. It was silver, and I just hate gray cars. I hate gray and black and white. I know everybody in the country wants that. I just can't stand them. And I'll be darned if I didn't sit there and buy that silver car. So, it's been a great experience. I'd never driven one before. And the reason I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger was I had most of the money, and I started watching updates on the full self-driving, the software, and the car can basically drive itself. And that's what I wanted. I wasn't worried about an electric car. I want a car that can drive itself. And I love driving. I drive every day, all the time, and I'm retired, so I don't have to drive anywhere. So, but, the great thing about it is it's FSD. It's called full self-driving. It's just a button on your steering wheel. You push that button on the screen. You can see a blue mark come out in front of your car. You see the roadway. The car sees the roadway. It stays on the roadway. It doesn't go to the white line. Doesn't go to the yellow line. It stays right dead down the center. It stops at every stoplight. Stops at every stop sign. Follows correctly. You can set your speed with your thumb on the wheel there, and it's just been fabulous. I'll never own a car again that can't drive itself.
Were you, when you first got it and you first took your hands off the steering wheel, is it with some trepidation?
Well, you know what? It takes you. No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, I had my mother-in-law, who is 82, in my car the other day, and I said, "Watch this," and I punched the button, and the car backed out of the driveway, went down to the stop sign, turned left, and went on this curvy mountain road, and she never was freaked out because I could show her on the map exactly where the car was going to go. It's got this blue line that goes out in front of the car.
And it follows the line.
Yeah, and it follows it perfectly. Drives better than I do.
Is the line a GPS line, or is it what the car?
Well, it renders. You see your car, and then it renders the roadway, and the only other thing it renders are the stop signs, the stoplights, and other cars. So as you pass cars that are parked on the side of the road, even if they're off in the driveway, it is very sensitive to other cars because they can move at any time. So that's what it shows you. It doesn't show you trees. It doesn't show you houses. It just shows you the roadway and other cars.
Now, what if you come up on a construction zone and you've got a guy out there with the vest on and a flag saying slow down? What happens then?
This is the thing. The other day it rendered the slow sign that, they hold up and stop on one side. When he held it up, it saw it as a stop sign. So it would have stopped. Now, I would have taken it. You just push your thumb. You're off FSD. And as soon as you get around this guy with all the cones down the road, you can push the FSD back on, and it will follow the cones. It'll take a detour. It'll do whatever it needs to do. It can see. The car uses 7 cameras. The Model Y has 8 cameras, and it can literally see the road just like you do, and it makes decisions based on that. And what's happened is, this is what I thought it would be. I'm just going to turn it over to the car. But it's not like that. You're like a lifeguard. You supervise the car, and you learn to drive with the car. And what happens, Earl, is you turn it on, turn it off all the time, depending on. So if you're going to just do a long drive that's just like sitting in the car and watching the road, you just punch the button and sit there and watch it. But if you're going to go to Costco parking lot, I don't want the car choosing where I'm going to park. I want to choose that.
Well,
so I just pull in the parking lot, turn the FSD off, go find my parking place, and then you just get out of the car and walk away, and it locks itself, it turns everything off, and it closes the mirrors, and your key is your phone.
But you can have it drop you off at the front door to Costco, and it'll find a parking place wherever it wants to.
Yeah, you can do that.
And then
my thing is, I've got a brand new car. I don't want to park it next to some idiot who's going to dent my car up. So I always go park. I found a spot at Costco between where they put the shopping carts and where the end of the row was.
Well, and that's another question, because just as you bought it was when Elon Musk had gone and joined with Trump. And so he was catching all this flack, and people were setting Teslas on fire. Yeah. And you said in Connecticut you really weren't concerned. There hadn't been any incidents there, and so and so I guess the funniest thing I saw was a guy that had a Tesla like yours. No, it was a truck actually, and he had spelled out Toyota on the back of the truck.
Yeah, I saw people put Toyota symbols on their regular Model Ys, and that guy had Toyota written across the tailgate really big. Yeah, I saw Prius put all over them. Yeah, people were doing that. I never really worried about it, but I'll tell you, the way I got this car at a used car dealership, it was one of the very few 2025s that were for sale. I've already had it for 2 months, and the reason they got it was because the guy who bought it off the internet brought it into the Hyundai dealership because they had a used Rivian pickup truck, and he wanted out of the Tesla because he had a 5-year-old daughter, and it was causing him so much anxiety that something was going to happen to him with his daughter in the car that he traded it in for this electric pickup truck. So I got a really good deal on it. I would have probably not bought a Model 3 straight from Tesla, but they gave me a really good deal.
We're going to show your car right now. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but Rob's going to put it up. There it is. It's you standing in front of your car,
Yeah, it's
And
a sleek-looking little car.
it really is. I love the design of it, and I
Well,
love the.
when they put that curved line in the front, it just changed the whole look of the car. It's a great car, and inside it's very very plain. There's almost nothing in there. There's two buttons on the steering wheel. Well, there's actually four little press buttons, and then there's two big kind of wheels that look like marbles or something. You just roll them with your thumb. That's it. There are no like light switches or buttons or anything in this car. A lot of people don't like that.
Oh, I think I'm a very clean person. I like
Yeah,
things to be
yeah,
very, very neat. I do
yeah.
like symmetry, though. So if there's something on the
Yeah.
right, I want to see it on the left.
No, it's very good. The screen is right there beside you. It's in the center of the car. The console, the doors open and close automatically. And then the rest is just the steering wheel. That's all there is in the car.
What's the sound system like?
Oh, it's fabulous. I
Really?
mean, the car is really good. I was having never driven or ridden in a Tesla. I'd sat in one time. I bought this car without ever having driven in it. So I've got to tell you, after having it for 2 months now, I've put 3,500 miles on it in 2 months, and I don't have any problems with this car whatsoever. It's super safe. They update it constantly. It's very, very fast. It's very fast. I had a Camaro with a V8, and this thing's like a second and a half faster than that
Wow.
was 0 to 60. It's got, I know I'm a fanboy at this point, but it's a great car.
But you would be the first to say this is not what I expected, or
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
doesn't really perform the way they sell it for.
Well, exactly. If I'd been disappointed in anything, if I was, I would tell you. And the thing is, the only thing I could find, and someone had said this before, and this is so stupid. They put the blinkers. They're not on an arm. They're on your right. They're on your left thumb. So if you want to turn right, you push this button up here. If you want to turn left, you push the one down here. It's two arrows. Well, when you go to leave McDonald's, you pull out and you make your turn, and then you go, oh, let me put my blinker on. Well, now because the steering wheel's turned halfway around,
It's upside
the
down.
blinkers are upside down. So now they're backwards. So that's the only thing I can find about this. And someone had read that. I'd read that someone complained about that. I thought, well, that's silly. And now that's the only thing I can find to complain about this car.
You mentioned the fact that you just sit back and watch the trip, but you do have to watch because it watches you.
Definitely.
Tell
Yes,
me-
it
tell me
does.
how
There's
that
a
works.
camera right here above the rearview mirror. And if you take your eyes off and you start reading your phone or looking at the screen, it will tell you, put your eyes back on the road.
Wow.
And if you keep messing up, it will eventually put up a little red steering wheel on your screen saying you will not be using full self-driving on the rest of this trip. And if you do it and get an infraction, which I did the very first time I drove the car because I didn't know how to drive it, and it said, not only have you gotten an infraction, but if you do this 4 more times, we're taking this away from you.
Taking the car away.
No, we'll take the full self-driving
Oh, okay.
away, which was the only reason I
You
bought
bought
the
it in
car.
the first place, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So
it's a problem that, these car companies thought that they were just going to make electric cars, and they didn't have the wherewithal to get batteries because the Chinese control all the batteries. So they're having to make battery factories, and they have to figure out electric cars. But what they've slowly started to figure out is it's the software that makes this car.
Yeah.
This car is like an iPhone with wheels, and they update it all the time. Just like that parking summon. I can summon my car, but I think now I actually have the ability to get the car to park itself. So my wife came out of the store the other day, and I was walking with her, and our car, I'd already called the car, and it was driving right up to pick us up right in front of the store. With nobody in the car. It was great.
I love that. What
Yeah.
does Marnie think about the car?
She seems to really like it, and her mother loved it. They said that her mother's going around telling all of her 80-year-old friends, oh, you ought to see this car my son-in-law's got. It drives itself. You'd really like it. And she thought it was great.
He's such a smart boy.
Yeah, it's a perfect car for him.
Let's talk a little bit about your whole Tesla and Elon experience. Because we on the radio show before I came downtown with the live video podcast, you came on the show on a pretty regular basis, updating people on Elon and what he was up to, and the AI plant here in Memphis, and how incredible that's been. he's actually added on and brought in more of these incredible batteries here to increase the productivity here.
Right.
Now, there have been some protests here by some area residents say these polluting the air, but these are, I mean, it's we were just talking about the Wright brothers. I mean, there are probably people that were protesting the Wright brothers saying they're polluting the air by flying in it, you know.
Right.
But I'm very impressed with Elon. I'm very impressed with everything he does. What is your whole take on this thing with Trump? And not, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I just think that Elon's motivated is not by money, and it's not by political power. I think he really wants what's best for the country and the world.
Well, if you read his biography by Walter Isaacson, he says that, Elon just does things. He's worried. I think he's worried he can do, and the funny thing to figure out what we're going to need and maybe the stuff that we're going to need after that. And he goes ahead and starts making it. And that's why the retail investor doesn't see Tesla as a car company. There's no car company that's worth as much as Tesla. And there's no car company that has as little debt as Tesla has. And they started from scratch making cars from a software background. So they just got to jump on everybody from the start. So, Elon has definitely hurt the brand with his politics, and he's made a lot of people angry, and he's not going to shut his mouth. Elon's going to Elon, and that's just who he is. If you're going to be an investor, you're just going to have to live with it.
But that's how you got the money to buy your Tesla, was through the sale of stock, the Tesla stock. And you said, when it goes down, I'm buying more.
Yeah, and I would do it today. I mean, it's like, what they've got in the pipeline over the next couple of years is going to just shock everybody. And it's going to be, to tell you the truth, I know they want to build the world's best car, and they do. And I think they will continue, but I think they're so committed now to this idea that people in cities, got a Harley going by, people in the cities are going to, they're going to drive these, they're going to take a cab. Tesla's going to flood the world with little cheap cabs, and they're going to be two-seaters, and there's nobody driving, and they're going to put Grok in them, which is the XAI voice. Grok is coming. They said that the other day, and they've got that. They've got the humanoid robot coming. That's running off the same software. They're running that software from Memphis, and they're running it in connection with the supercomputer that they're building at Giga Austin right now, Giga Texas. So XAI in Memphis is only going to continue to grow. You saw they have now moved into Whitehaven. They say they're going to put $12 billion into that plant, and so it was a delightful surprise to see that Google is building a data center now right across there in West Memphis, where I went to high school. So all this kind of training and compute is only going to just continue to get bigger and bigger. And Isaacson, the biographer, said about 2 weeks ago that he thinks XAI will eventually be rolled into Tesla. So I think Tesla may actually end up having facilities in Memphis, and I don't know if it'll be that long. Well, they're announcing that they're going to put Grok, their AI or your AI assistant. You know how well that is.
Yes, I use it
works
every
really
day.
well.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying Grok 3.5 is going to be even better, and it's coming very soon. And they're also saying that it will be put in the cars, and people are talking about that it's going to happen within the next. No one knows an exact date, but it's going to be like in the next 6 months. So you can learn Spanish while you're driving your car, because Grok's going to be able to teach you how to speak Spanish. And you should see all these different Grok personalities that you can have as an assistant, or as a doctor, or as a comedian, as a ludicrous person, as a, whatever. And it will speak to you with that kind of knowledge.
I talked to him, and I call him a him. I don't know why.
I know. And yet when you listen to Grok's voice, it's a woman.
Well, I haven't heard the voice yet.
Right.
But I'll ask a question, and it'll answer it in great detail. It said, do you want it in greater detail? I go, no, this is sufficient for right now. But then I've gone back and said, you remember what you told me the other day about X? And it said, yes, and I'm assuming you're still doing your show from Lansky's in the Peabody Hotel. And I go, yes, I am. And he goes, excellent. So it's not like going to Google and just asking a basic question and it gives you a 1 or 2 word answer. this is very much a conversational relationship you have.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can talk to this. I mean, I have learned so much. Yeah, I check everything out now. Well, as a matter of fact, I just noticed this today. Because I have X.com Twitter, because I have X.com Premium, I've noticed that there's two sections of it. So you switch back and forth between all your followers, and then, that's for you. And then over here, you just have your general stuff coming in from X.com. But I noticed that if I'm on my list of people I'm subscribed to or people I'm following, besides every single post, there's a little bitty grok symbol, and you can touch that grok symbol. It will go through and tell you whether that post has any truth to it or not.
Wow.
It's very, very helpful.
Now,
because there's stuff on X all the time that's just, well, I mean, today they said Khomeini had been killed in Tehran, and they said that guy that shot those legislators in Minneapolis, they said he got caught. I saw both those this morning that turned out to be fake. And then, with X, you just have to wait 4 hours before it even gets confirmed by the second party. If it doesn't happen in 4 hours, it's probably not true.
Well, what about Chat GT? Have you had any experience with that? Because that's even
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
That's OpenAI. That went through OpenAI, which was that's a whole different that's a whole different story. But Elon actually helped start OpenAI. So Chat GPT, they're all getting better. Google's got one, and an AI, and people are saying that it's fabulous. I mean, Google had to do something, because a year ago they were saying that nobody's doing searches anymore. If Google didn't straighten up, they were going to go out of business. But Google's not going out of business.
No. Although I did hear some girl the other day ask her, said, do you use Google anymore? She goes, I never go to Google anymore. So after I started using Chat, and then also
GPT, and Grok with
Grok.
XAI. See, you got to stay up on this stuff, or you'll get left behind very quickly. And Earl, that's what they're building in West Memphis. That $10 billion. It's what was it, like 1,200 acres?
Yeah.
It's going to be 5 buildings. It's out there by the West Memphis Airport. It's on the southwest side of town. It's out in the agricultural area, or at least it was when I was there, and I went to high school there. That was 50 years ago. Out there, they're building a huge campus, and that's what it's for. It's a data center. It's going to be for doing AI research, like they're doing in Memphis with XAI. But it's also going to be cloud compute. And it's going to be doing IT and all kinds of, So that's going to be a big thing. That's a $12 million investment. And I was reading today, they're having to build them a substation, for electricity. And they're using the aquifer, the Memphis sand aquifer, for water, because they have to keep everything cool. So the infrastructure to this place is going to be huge. And so they were saying that XAI is going to use, I don't know anything about gigawatts and megawatts, all right, but I do know that they say XAI will probably use 100 megawatts of power. They're saying the one in West Memphis may use between 500 and 1,000 megawatts.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to be massive.
There's also talk of them building a water cleansing plant here that they can actually take the water out of the Mississippi River, which they're doing in Saudi Arabia and in North Africa, to take seawater, desalinate that. So why could they just clean up the water out of the Mississippi and use that to cool?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I didn't think about this the other day, but they have to keep the water at a certain temperature, because if it gets near the dew point, it starts dripping, and then you got a mess because the water's dripping all over your electronics. So everything has to be set at a precise level. That's why they're going to keep those turbines that have caused so much trouble, those gas, they're going to keep half of them there, but they're just going to be a backup.
Yeah.
So the thing that'll keep the plant up and running for 5 or 6 hours, if it really crashes, will be those megapack batteries that they've brought in.
Which, when you're running off battery, you're not polluting anything because you're running off battery. So I do think I do think that they could do a better job of dealing with the media, because they just these people protest, the media covers that side, and they never get a response from Elon or any of his people.
People have been banned. The people who invest in this company that worry about the actual name of the company, not the retail, not the buyer who buys the stock, the Wall Street financial people who sell, who are investors. They hate the fact that Elon will not advertise, and he will not put up a public relations department. He just won't do it. As a matter of fact, Earl, if you sent Tesla.com an inquiry right now, you know what you would get back? You would get back a poop emoji. That's what they send you. That's what you get back.
So you get,
I mean, that's
you
the
get
record.
nothing. Yeah.
You
Well,
get nothing, and there's no one there to it's like people don't realize that my car can almost perfectly drive itself.
yeah.
Like it drove me back from Pennsylvania. There are people that have driven all over, and people have no idea these cars have this kind of capability, and it's because Tesla doesn't tell anybody.
No. Well, I did see something today that said it had a picture of Elon and Uber. They had down in Austin that they're going to start bringing in there, and so Austin will be one of the big test markets. There will be all these. He said Uber will go out of business, so will Lyft. All those companies, and I guess taxi cabs as well.
Yeah, no, it's that was a bad thing that the yellow taxi cabs to get a plaque in New York on a yellow cab cost like $1 million, and they're just like regular guys that are buying these things. They're leveraged up to their eyeballs, and then they just let Uber come into the market. All you got to do is have a car. Well, in Texas, what they're starting right now is they're starting with Model Ys. They don't actually have the little cyber cabs. I know they're building them. They're in Austin, but they haven't released them yet. So right now they're using the Model Y, and people are seeing them drive around, and they go into service on the 22nd. So what is that, like Friday?
Yeah.
So Friday they go in, and on the 28th they say they're going to announce. They think they're going to drop out a 3-seat Model Y SUV. So there's more stuff coming all the time.
Well, we're going to keep checking back with you so you can update us, because what I love about it is you have a background. You've been following Tesla, investing in them for years now, and are totally with the program, and you're good at explaining it. So we'll be checking back with you. Jim Elliott in Connecticut. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I always learn something with Jim Elliott. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to check in with, he was in the Navy. He was a dentist. He is an actor. He's TV commercials. He plays in a band. He's a Renaissance man. Gary Earhart coming up next.
Hi, I'm Dawn Grader, President and CEO of Southern Security Federal Credit Union. We're the proud title sponsor of the Earl Farrell for Memphis show, coming to you live from Lansky's in the world-famous Peabody Hotel and celebrating all of the great things about our great city, Memphis, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm so proud to be part of the Earl Farrell for Memphis show, streaming live from Lansky's from the Peabody. We will be showcasing not only Napa Cafe, but some great restaurants around town. We look forward to seeing you.
Hi, everyone. It's Diane Kimbrough, Lady Di, your insurance PI. And I'm here to tell you about the new podcast that Earl Farrell from Memphis is doing. And we're doing it downtown live from the Peabody, which is behind me and next to the Rendezvous. And we're going to be talking all things Memphis, but we're also going to be talking about health insurance because that applies to everyone. And I can help you in every area. So I look forward for you listening to us and learning more about what we can do for you in Memphis and how I can help you with your health.
Hello, Memphis Mid-South. And first, I'd like to thank you for visiting with Earl Farrell Memphis today. And we want to support him just like you do. I'm George Gully, one of the sales managers at Jim Carrey Chevrolet. We've been in business here in Memphis for over 75 years. I've been associated with the company for almost 25. And I'll help you find the right car, truck, or SUV here at not only our Chevy store, but also Buick, GMC, Nissan, Subaru. We can help you find that right car. Keep watching, Earl, and come see me. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Kathy Thurman Edwards, State Farm, and I'm so excited to be one of the sponsors for the Earl Farrell from Memphis show, broadcasting live from Lansky's at the Peabody. And I'll tell you all about what we've got going on at our office. Gift cards for quotes. No purchase necessary. I'm better looking than a lizard.
Hi, this is Randy Wright from the Dive Shop and Dive Ventures in Memphis. We've been in Memphis over 64 years teaching people to dive, snorkel, and swim. We'd love to have you come join us and have some fun. We're also a part of the Dive Ventures group with 18 locations across the country, stretched from Phoenix to Vienna, Virginia. Please give us a call. We'll be able to take care of you at 999 South Yates in Memphis, or call us at 901-763-DIVE.
Hi, I'm Brett Batterson, President and CEO of the Orpheum Theater Group in downtown Memphis. We are so pleased with our partnership with the Earl Farrell Show and very happy that he is broadcasting live from Lansky's at the historic Peabody Hotel. We're all here to make Memphis better.
Hi, my name is Jameson Todd, and I'm the director of Live at the Garden and the Radiance Amphitheater. And we're so excited for our 25th year of Live at the Garden here at the Memphis Botanic Garden. We've got a great lineup for you this season, so come on out.
Hi, I'm Olivia Wall, Director of Marketing and Communications for Memphis Botanic Garden and Live at the Garden. We've had Earl Farrell right along the way for the past 25 years, and we can't wait to talk more about the season this summer on the Earl Farrell for Memphis show.
So come out to Live at the Garden. Our first show is on June 21st.
Hi, my name is Scott Fueling. I'm president of Phoenix Communications here in Memphis. I'm really proud to support Earl Farrell's show, as is everybody else on the team. We love Memphis, and we love doing things to promote Memphis, and we can't wait for this to get started.
And welcome back to Lansky's. Joining me now is my good friend Gary Earhart, who's one of the more interesting people I've ever met. I mean, he's done just about everything. Have you done everything you've ever wanted to do, Gary?
Pretty much.
Which is great because it is so many people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And sometimes they do, and a lot of times they don't. But you pretty much held true. I
didn't want to be on the deathbed and go, oh, God, I wish I'd have done that, but pretty much done everything.
You're from Memphis.
Yes.
And the earliest thing you did that I know you want to do, you love music, and you were in a garage band during the era of garage bands.
Yes, I was. It was so much fun.
Anybody in there that your early bands that ended up you played with everybody who's famous from Memphis?
Well, not everybody, but Jimmy Jamison, who was with the Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, and all that stuff. He was my first singer, my first band.
Wow!
I called him up.
What a start!
Yeah, I was in a band already, and we played football together. And we were singing on the bus. We actually won a football game.
Hold that picture up just a little bit longer. There it is.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Jamison's the guy on the far right, and that's me standing next to him. But I told the guy standing to me on the other side is Jack Rowell.
Yeah,
and Jack
he just passed away.
Yeah, he just passed away. Super guy. But I said, Jack, have you ever heard Jamison sing? He said, no. I said, oh, my God, you got to hear this guy sing. And he started practicing with us, and he did it for the rest of his life,
Oh, he was phenomenal. I had him on my radio show about the year before he passed away.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he was so nice. And I asked him, I said, when did you realize that you had made it? He goes, I don't know. I still question that today, And he said, it's not like there's a finish line in life except when you die. But there's nobody that says you've now done everything you could do and you've arrived, because every day's a new day. But he was a very humble person.
No, he was a special guy. I loved him.
And then his wife Debbie. We're going to have her come on here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, she'll have some stories.
She will. So music was very important to you. But then, what was your major in college? Did you know you wanted to be a dentist even in high school?
Oh, that was kind of a goal to be a dentist. But I mean, I wanted to be one of the Beatles. And when I was in college, I was in another rock group. Big group, and finally got to the point where I realized all my friends were a lot better musicians than I was, and they weren't really going anywhere. So maybe you need to find something else to make a living.
Like a day job, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I played in church and different things and functions the rest of my life, so I still got to play a little bit. So,
but to have a job, I mean, going to dental school, that's a long haul deal.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of studying and plus, you got to put your hands in somebody else's mouth, and so you got to be dedicated. I'm so glad that you and other people like you go into the medical profession, because I would just tell them you're going to die.
There were days I felt like that, but I never really did that.
So you and then you went into the Navy after you got out of school, because you said, "What? I'm just tired of studying."
I did. I went to school for 20 straight years, and I said, I don't want to go out and borrow money, start a practice, and go through that stress. I just want to just do some dental work and build my skills up. And we moved to San Diego, and we had a first child there, so it was a great situation for me.
There you are in a jet.
Yeah. And I got to. Before I went to dental school, I started taking flying lessons. I thought, well, I also wanted to be a pilot. But when I got to San Diego, my cousin was a test pilot for the Navy, and he got me up in this jet. This is the A4 jet, which was the Blue Angels jet at the time. And the guy was giving me some instructions right there.
But he's saying, you're going to throw up.
And I did. I literally did. First time I went up, I mean, he went in he went to a dive, went straight up into a spin. He didn't
Yeah.
tell me he was going to do it, and man, oh man.
They gave me a heads up because I've been up with the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds.
Oh, wow.
You fixate on something on the dashboard and don't look at the sky, don't look outside the plane, and just concentrate on that so you're not seeing the movement. Yeah. That's what makes you sick.
Well, from that point on, I got about 17 hours in that jet, flying backseat. But I took Dramamine, and if I put my hand on the stick just barely where I could feel what he was moving it, that helped.
That helped.
Because
Wow.
he let me fly it. I mean, I was flipping the thing over. I mean,
wow.
I had a ball. You know, it was a dream come true to fly that jet. So.
But you went in as an officer
right.
in the Navy, which because my nephew, who's at the Air Force Academy now, he'll graduate and he'll come out an officer. We have another good friend who went to dental school. He cut a deal with the I think he's also with the Air Force. He cut a deal going into dental school. They would pay for everything. He'd sign up now. Then I think he's got to put in 6 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And they pay for all of his dental school.
That's a good deal.
He'll come out as a captain. In fact, he just got his bars. And it was my dad told me years ago, he said, go to the military, but you want to make sure you're an officer.
Yeah,
the
it
military is very good to the officers and very not good to everybody else.
Yeah, when I finally got out of the Navy, I was a lieutenant commander in the Navy, which is pretty high up, you know. So
that, and you said, if you mess with me, I'll drill you.
Yeah.
You always said that. So you get out of the Navy, and because you could have gone, I guess, lived anywhere around California, but you wanted to come back to Memphis?
Well, the plan was to stay out there. I actually took the dental board at UCLA to stay out there. But after 2 years, I thought, oh, man, my friends and relatives, we just had a new kid. You know, it was just, I missed home. And I went to practice in Collierville with one of my classmates. I was his associate for a year. And then I had a few more offices throughout the years.
But while you were being a dentist, you were pursuing that career, raising a family, you were also very enamored with celebrity. I mean, I remember in your office when I'd come in there, the walls were covered with all the pictures you'd had taken over the years with all these famous people. And I've interviewed tons of people, but it was back in the day before we had cell phones. I never had a camera with me. And I always felt very self-conscious about saying, hey, can we get a shot together? But you didn't. You had no compulsion about that.
No. Well, I mean, I was in situations.
You are Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. But see, like he was a friend of a friend. I got invited there. I mean, I got invited to things, so I always took a camera.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I really missed was that I met Elvis Presley 2 times, and I didn't have a camera. You know, to this day, I went, of all the people I'd like to have had a picture with.
So what was Elvis like when you met him? Here you are, Sybil Shepherd.
Oh, yeah.
And Jimmy.
Jimmy and I had done Eye of the Tiger. That was the Tigers, the Memphis Tigers theme song. And they asked me to get him to do it. And every time, we did it several times, and every time he did it, he said, I'll do it if you play the guitar part. And, you know, I said, okay, you know, whatever. And then Sybil was backstage with us, and she had this orange outfit on. And we going, you're wearing orange to a Memphis game? And so they gave her that blue.
So she'd have some color.
A story about that picture. Can you go back?
Yeah, sure.
So we're standing there for that picture, and Jimmy turns over and looks up at Sybil and says, I wish you were wearing high heels. And she looked at him and says, I'm not. And we all had a big laugh about that. So,
well, he was a very talented, nice-looking guy. I mean, he looked like a rock star.
Oh, the women loved him, my gosh. He went to Domestic High School, graduated with my wife, Jenny.
Yeah. And Sybil, get back to Elvis a second. What was Sybil like? Because I've met her several times in Memphis.
I had met Sybil several times, and she was always a sweetheart to me. You know, and there's other stories. But, I mean, she was always nice to me. I tried to get her. I was involved with Special Olympics, and I was trying to get somebody to be a narrator for a video we were going to do. And she was doing a movie here, and I got to go meet her, and we talked about it. And she said, I just don't think I'll have the spare time to do it. But she was willing to do it. But I got Jimmy Jameson did it for me, so, you know, it worked out good.
Absolutely. And then let's go back to Elvis. What was Elvis like?
Okay, now Elvis rented the Memphian Theater out after hours, and, you know, I knew about that. And we tried to get in this one night, and I talked to him. He was walking in the door, and I stopped. He shook my hand, and I said something about, I said, Elvis, are you going to record with Chip's Moment anymore? And he said, well, I don't know about that. He said, I'm going to Nashville tomorrow to do a religious album. And, you know, it was so nice. He stopped to talk. And then we got inside the the place, you know. And I spent another 2 hours with him, but I didn't bother him anymore. I just, you know, but he was really nice. I got to see how he interacted with all his people.
I was going to ask you that because, you know, he always had Red and all those guys that were with him, but he also had other people. And he was, it was like they were all friends, but he definitely called the shots, according to everybody I knew.
He would make a joke, and there'd be the fake laughs, you know, Elvis. What he did to us, though, because we weren't even supposed to be there, we snuck in. My wife was sitting on the end of the aisle, and Elvis kind of disappeared, you know, up the aisle. A few minutes later, he snuck up behind her. He had a monkey mask on with a cigar sticking out of it and scared her, you know. And, of course, everybody was laughing because Jenny didn't see him coming. But, I mean, he didn't even know us, and he did that, you know.
The guy used to have the Pontiac dealership on Elvis Presley Boulevard, Pat Carter. And everybody thought Elvis bought Cadillacs for everybody, but he didn't. He bought Pontiacs for people,
really?
The Firebird or something. And like he bought his cook and her daughter just a sedan, a Pontiac sedan. And so they asked if they went and asked his daddy Vernon, said, "Can we just exchange this for another car we like?" He says, "As long as it doesn't cost any more." And so they went up and talked to Pat. And but Pat's birthday was the same as Elvis, and so whenever Elvis was in town, he would invite Pat to come down to the mansion and celebrate his birthday.
Oh, that's nice.
And Pat told me one time I had him on my show, and he said, "Remember those canes that Elvis always had? He always had a real ornate looking cane." He goes, "That wasn't because he limped." He said that was he would whack people with them if they looked at his girlfriend, whoever's girlfriend. If they looked at him, he said, "Hey man, what you looking at?" Whack.
I could see that.
Okay, here's another slide.
Okay. Morgan Freeman. And he was a total gentleman.
Yeah.
I was on the Film Tape Commission, and I got invited to a Christmas party at Tanner. Remember Bill Tanner?
Bill Tanner, sure.
His house, and he was there and started talking and learned that he was born in Memphis. I didn't know that. And he lived down in Mississippi, Cleveland, Mississippi, or something. Clarksdale.
Yeah.
And I started talking to Lynn Sittler. I said, "You know what? We had talked about maybe doing a movie here." So we contacted him, and he came up with his wife, and we went to Grisani's restaurant, and I think Mayor Rout was there, and David Porter was there. And, I mean, he was just a total sweetheart, just, you know. Oh, this is a funny story. He leans, his wife is sitting between me and him, and he leans over and says, "Gary, what kind of car do you drive?" I said, "Well, I've got an old Mercedes." He says, "I just traded mine in on a BMW." He said, "You got to drive this thing." And I said, "Yeah, sure." So we're leaving. We're going to somebody else's house for some drinks. And I said, "Where's your car, Maury?" He says, "Right here. Here's the keys. I want you to drive it." I said, "I'm not driving your car." I said, "We've had a little bit of wine, you know." He says, "I'm serious." So I'm driving Morgan Freeman's brand new BMW around the parking lot at Grisani's while he watches me. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was. He's just a sweetheart, you know.
We got to go down to Clarksdale and interview him. And we walked down with my photographer, and Kathy was there. And they introduced me to him, and I shook his hand. And then my photographer was next in line. And I said, "This is my photographer." And he goes, "I've never met a big movie star before." And Morgan goes, "International movie star."
That's good.
But that was his sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
But just so down to earth. And he talked about his growing up in Clarksdale. I said, "What made you move back here?" I said, "You can live anywhere in the world." And he said, "Because I've traveled the world." And he said, "Of all the places I've ever been, I come back to Clarksdale, and this is my favorite place." And he said, "I bought some property here." I said, "How do you get the people here to leave you alone and just treat you like a regular person?" He said, "Very good question." He said, "I came back here and went to every place I would go to, the hardware store, the grocery store, wherever, the cleaners. I said, I'm Morgan Freeman. I'm a movie star, but I'm moving back to my hometown. I want you to treat me just like anybody else. And you see me, you go, "Hey, Morgan, good morning." And he said, so when I walk into town, people go, "Hey, Morgan, how you doing?"
That's great.
He goes, "Good, how you doing?"
Okay, here's another one.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, Bluff City Law shot here about, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And we got invited to a function. I was just an extra on that. But I got to do some pretty cool things on it. They used me several times, but what's his name?
Schmitz.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah, and everybody that met him while he was here filming said that he was really a very nice guy. Then we get
That's Chris Christopherson. They had the Elvis tribute here years ago, and I was with Olson that night, Ron Olson and Vicky, and Chris was there, and we toured Graceland that night with her and Vicky Olson. And him just kind of got to be buddies the rest of the night. He started talking. Ron, it was the darndest thing to see,
He Norbert Putnam was going to be a good friend of my wife and I and his wife. And he was a studio musician, RCA in Nashville, when Chris Christopherson came there and worked as a janitor. And he said he came in, and he was all dressed in black. And he said, "Are you guys going to smoke those cigarette butts in the ashtray?" And I said, "No, we don't even smoke." He goes, "Good. Well, my name's Chris. I'm cleaning up around here now." And he said, "I also write music." He said, "Yeah, everybody in Nashville writes music." But it turned out he did.
Johnny Cash did one of his first songs,
Did you hear the story of that? He flew a helicopter, he rented a helicopter and landed on his property outside Nashville.
Yeah, I heard that.
And at first,
it's hard to believe.
Was really mad, but he was a highly awarded Vietnam helicopter pilot,
Oxford scholar or something like that.
Rhodes Scholar.
Rhodes Scholar,
yeah. Very smart guy and very talented. Just passed away this past year. But and we all know who that is.
Jeeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew him my whole life. It seems like he was one sweet person, a gentleman.
Always would call you back immediately. Yeah. And if he didn't, he would apologize for the first 20 seconds when he did get back. "I am so sorry I didn't call you back sooner."
Yeah. You called me and Ron the day he passed away, and we did your show.
Yeah.
And you were doing something else. Me and Ron and I were talking to each other. I said, "Ron, he was a pretty serious guy. I don't really have any funny stories about George." And Ron says, "I don't either." We managed to do something, but it was funny. We both thought the same thing.
Well, because he was
very serious guy.
He was surprisingly so, especially for a disc jockey.
Speaking of the devil,
Ron.
There's a man. We've been friends for 40 years. I was thinking 85 is when I first met Ron.
Actually, I met him before that. I got here in '78. I think I met him the first year I got here. Yeah, so I've known him since dirt. But George Klein told me this story when he was on the show one time. Elvis would go out to Hollywood, and when he'd get out there, he'd be gone for months, or at least a couple of months. And so George said, "No, I want to stay back here and do my radio show. I don't want to depend on you to make a living. I want to do my own thing." He said, "But can I come over and ride some of the stuff, because he had go-karts and all kinds of." And Elvis goes, "Yeah, but don't ride the motorcycles. You ain't any good at that." And so that was as much of a joke he told on himself. But he said, I said, "So you weren't good at riding?" He said, "I thought I was, but apparently Elvis didn't." So he said, "I don't want you killing yourself while I'm out of town."
I can't see George on a motorcycle either.
Obviously neither could Elvis. There you are with Judge Brown.
Okay, that was last April. I did a movie. Actually, I had a nice part in the movie. I played the defense attorney for the lead actor in it, and the first day on the set, we shot the last scene of the movie.
Isn't that
That's
weird?
the way it goes.
Yeah.
And Judge Brown was our judge, and he was phenomenal. He's just, I don't even think he stuck to the script. He was more interested in getting off the script. But
so he did a lot of ad-libbing.
Oh, yeah.
Some movies think it's okay, other movies don't, or how does that work?
It just depends. I've done a couple of movies where the director wrote the script, so they know what it's supposed to say. A lot of directors have got the script, they don't know it verbatim, I always substitute words. When I think I know it fairly well, I'll substitute small words. I don't think they care about that, It's getting the point across,
And being believable.
Yeah.
I saw him one day at a Five Guys hamburger place here out in Collierville or Memphis, and he was sitting across from me. I said, "That's Judge Brown." So they said, "Hey, Judge." He looks up and he goes, "Hey." I went, "Good talking to you."
Yeah. He was a delight to work with. Yeah. He really was.
And then there's Sybil. I mean, not Sybil, Priscilla.
Priscilla.
I've never seen her hair that short.
I haven't either. I don't think that's really her. No, it's
that was an imposter?
At the Blues Ball. She went every year.
Yeah.
And I think Ron Olson probably took the picture. But she's always been a sweetheart too. I don't know her well, but I sort of know her.
Actually, I got her to pose with my son JB when they opened up the stables for part of the tour at Graceland. Because for many years that wasn't part of the tour, but she had purchased some horses that she had adopted and wanted people to see them and how big a part the stables were to Graceland, her and Elvis. So after I interviewed her, I said, "Can I take your picture with my son?" She goes, "Sure." I still don't have a picture with her, but I got my son. He's got it hanging in his stables down in Mississippi.
The first time I had my picture with her, Ron Olson again was involved. He cut my head off. And knowing
so
him,
Ron.
he probably did it on purpose,
Yes.
you know. You know how he is.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do.
But anyway. Okay, what was the next picture here? Neil McDonough, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this was taken a couple months ago. I'm his stand-in
That's
on
at
a
the train
movie.
station. I can
Yeah,
see the
train
sign.
station. But he is the bad guy in this movie, and I'm his stand-in. So every scene he has done, I sit there in front of the cameras before he takes my place. And he's always the bad guy at everything you see.
But he's really a nice guy.
He is the nicest guy. You get him talking, he'll talk your head off. He's coming back, I hope, in another month to finish the movie up. So hopefully I'll work with him again. So
Well, he was in Yellowstone.
Tulsa King right now.
Right now, yeah. And he's got another movie coming out where he's a guy going back to rodeo. And
Yeah, I saw that.
it's
The Last Rodeo. It is a great movie.
Is it?
It's a family movie. You know, he's
very big on that.
Oh yeah.
Won't kiss anybody, another woman on screen.
No.
That's always been my rule.
Mine too. They've never asked me to kiss anybody on screen yet. So.
And okay, who's in this picture?
Okay, that is Bill Marshall, who was the drummer for Target. That's Jimmy Jamison. That's me and Jack Rowell.
Yeah.
We were all together one night, and
you had your Beatles shirt on.
And I look like I am a foot taller than him. I don't know how that ended up that way. I must have been standing on a curb or something.
Jack Rowell, who's also a delightful person.
Oh,
He just
God.
passed away about a year ago.
Yeah. He was one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He really was.
And a delightful person. I mean,
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is why whenever you meet, did you ever meet any of these Hollywood celebrities that you really admired before, then you meet them, get your picture taken with them, and they were a jerk?
Oh, yeah.
You want to give us a list?
No, I don't even go there. I'd say the majority of them are nice.
Yeah.
I've had a few that, you know.
I just never understood why somebody would get into business like the movie business or television or anything dealing with the public and then resent it when people come up because they recognize you and want to talk to you because they feel like they know you.
They do. I don't understand that either. That's
Now,
crazy.
this is a scene from a movie.
That is the scene that I got a speaking part in this movie that I was just talking about. It's called The Last Story of David Allen. And this is my scene. I am a bartender, and these are the two stars of the movie, and besides Neil. And I only had 2 lines. But 2 weeks later, I get a letter from Screen Actors Guild asking me to join, which is a big deal if you're...
Because you had a speaking part.
Had a speaking part. Now, I was always SAG eligible. I've had speaking parts in other things, but I've never had them send me a thing and invite me to do this.
So how did that happen?
Well, when you do a speaking part, you fill out a bunch of forms. It's a whole different deal than just being an extra in a movie. And, I mean, they have to send it into SAG. I mean, you know, and SAG knows immediately that you had a speaking part, I guess.
There's a glamour shot of you.
Yeah, that's just a headshot. I've got hundreds of headshots. You do an audition, you have to send a headshot in.
Yeah.
You think, well, maybe they'll like this. I'm in a bathing suit or, you know, something like that.
This is
Love
another,
City Law.
Yeah, that's it. I've never seen you with that look on your face.
Well, she was the attorney was over me, like pointing down at me, and I was supposed to be ticked off, you know. So
Yeah, it looks like you're.
Yeah, that's what you call acting.
My dad acted like that way, but he looking at me, but I don't think he was acting. So I'm going to come get you. And then same movie.
Same movie. The sound man and we actually became friends, and I mean, I didn't ask him to take. He was just taking pictures of me. He knew I'd like to have him. He snapped that one. So.
And then there's one where you.
Oh yeah,
that one I really like.
That's the Neil was going to do that scene, and I was just sitting there waiting for somebody to say,
Killing time.
Get out of this chair. And this guy doing the scene with me took that picture. So, but we shot that in that mansion. Oh my God!
Now here's the one I said I don't believe I would.
I can't believe y'all got this. Thanks, Nick. Oh.
That was what you were playing the part of some homeless guy, right?
No, that was a guy that was trapped in a cave.
Ah.
And I figure he's going to have black stuff on his face, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't get that part either.
Yeah, I would destroy the picture.
Well, I would have. Everybody's seen it now.
Oops.
Thanks, Earl.
Well,
I got some pictures of you. I want to show.
Ron couldn't be here, so I had to, fill in for him.
The spirit of Ron Olson.
Yeah.
He's listening, though.
I'm sure.
Hey, Ron.
He's probably laughing. Hey, now. Hey.
Hey, now, yeah.
I couldn't get you myself, or else I'd take care of you. Are there any superstars that you've missed that you'd really like to run into and get a picture taken with them?
Well, Paul McCartney would be the ultimate, you know.
He's been here several times.
I know, but
wrong time, wrong
I don't
place.
know anybody that can get me in to meet him, you know.
Well, and but he is. I've seen him perform a number of times.
I've seen him about 3 times, but
and he puts on the longest show. I mean,
does.
You do not get shortchanged by Paul McCartney.
Oh, no. Now Ringo, I've met Ringo 3 or 4 times. Got pictures with him. He is just a super guy to talk to. I was in the studio. Chip Smallman had the studio here. I got into the studio and watched him record. Then did you go to the party they had on the yeah, you were there. Yeah. But I mean, you know, he's something else.
He was, the thing I liked about him is I walked out of Peabody with him after I interviewed him, and people just say, "Hey, Ringo," and are walking down the street. And Memphis is cool that way. They don't really, it's not like paparazzi or fans running up saying, "Can I get your autograph?" They just go, "Hey, Ringo," and he goes, "Hey, how are you?" This is my name, Ringo.
It's pretty good.
What's this shot?
That is my man cave. I collect guitars, and you see all the autographs on the wall there. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with stuff I've got. It's ridiculous.
But it is, those are all the things you love.
Yeah.
But very interesting life, and that's why I thought people would like meeting you, because you're always doing something, and you're very active. A lot of people retire and just go home and sit. But you're at everything. You go to movies, you go to plays, you go anything that's happening, you're involved with. And I think that's great. I think you're a good example for a lot of people if they retire, because I've often said that's why I keep doing this. You got to keep moving.
You do, and I enjoy my life. It's like an adventure, you know.
It is, and you should treat it that way, because it's the only one you're going to get.
That's true.
And in fact, my father-in-law was saying something this weekend. So you're just going to sit around and let your life waste away, or are you going to do something? I said,
sit around a chair waiting to die. I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
no, because it really is interesting every day, and. Just coming down here to Lansky's doing the show has been just a blast. And
this new coat he's going to give me, I love this.
Hal,
thank you.
Yeah, we're going to be around to get some video of him giving you the coat. That'll be
He's going to give me a military discount.
It's like I was talking to one of the guys that works here, Jim. I said something about a free coat. He goes, "Free is not part of Hal Lansky's vocabulary." Maybe you're free to leave, but otherwise check or cash.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills, I tell you.
In fact, I heard him say something. A lot of people from Europe come here, and this one was asking him if he could dicker over the price, and he said, "OPO." And she said, "OPO, what does that stand for?" He goes, "Only one price only." In other words, we don't dicker here. What you see on the ticket is what it is.
That's what you're going to pay.
Yeah. But, Gary, thank you for coming downtown and sharing some of your stories with us.
Thanks for having me. I had a ball.
Then we'll do it again.
Hope I didn't bore everybody. But
No, I think most of us got no pictures with any celebrities, so we enjoyed it.
Well, you can take your picture with me for you.
We'll do that right before you leave, right after we finish this. I'll have one celebrity I'll get my picture with. All right, that is our show for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.